All right, we're live. I'm gonna unmute y'all.
You ready? We're about to be live.
I feel like
We
I need to
are
be taller. I
live.
feel like I need to be higher. Can I get higher?
Yeah, you can get higher. I can take this blanket out. Take my cushion out. I'll be shorter. They gave me a cushion.
I feel like the table needs to be lower.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You want the table high. You really do
Okay.
want the table high.
All right.
All right, we're live, y'all.
Live on the internet, guys. We're here with Logan Bentley Fullmer, my buddy from San Antonio. He does a lot of interesting transactions, dirty deeds, lawsuits, the hard, dirty stuff. One of the more interesting guys in our space, one of the more knowledgeable guys in our space. So I'm looking forward to it. We've been chatting off camera for a little while now. We're already really far into some stuff, talking about fire selling properties. And if you're
Thought I
not
was too smart for that, but no.
dude, if you're not fire selling properties right now, you're lying.
Or you're not smart.
Here.
Or you're not smart.
Yeah. So everybody I see that's just like, oh, it's still business as usual. Do you think they're telling the truth?
No. They haven't realized how bad of a position they're in yet, or they're trying to sell you something and they're lying.
Those are only two options.
That's what I think.
I feel the exact same way. I'm in all different spaces. We're in commercial, mobile home parks, multifamily, single family homes, land.
Yeah.
We got our hands in almost all of it. And all of it is very, very, very difficult right now. You were telling, before we got on camera, you were saying how many deals you've sold at a couple of grand margin or small margin this year versus your entire career.
So it's about 10 years I've been in real estate. And I'd say on one hand, I could count the deals that we sold at a negative margin or break even, literally less than half a dozen. And in the last 60 days, I bet we've sold between a dozen and maybe a little bit more than that at either break even or slight loss. What I was telling you is we shot our shot. We thought we bought it cheap enough. We thought there was margin there. We thought it'd sell quick enough, and it didn't. The moment we realized the market was not accepting what we were trying, we lowered the price as quickly as we could, as low as we could to sell it and break even and get it out of there. Because I truly believe next month it's worth less. Next month it's worth less. And the following it's worse and worse because interest rates continue to climb.
Yep.
So our goal is it ain't worth anything above what we paid. Get out of it quick because we're gonna lose money if we don't.
And so now you got all that dry powder ready to deploy if something big comes up or something you know.
So the funny thing is now over the last couple of years I've been using debt.
Yep.
As our business developed, we have more consistent cash flow. I feel more comfortable that I'm in a position where I'm not gonna have a problem making a payment.
Yeah.
And I think we're better at real estate.
Yeah.
So now I've been using debt. So now I'll say, here's the amount of dry powder I got. The neat thing is it can go 4 times further than its value in cash because debt 25% down.
Yeah. Well, the way that debt works right now, it's tricky business. I wish I could show my phone. I went into Audible and found every bit of the historical books that I could read of what people were saying before the last crash, right?
Oh.
So I was reading all kinds of weird books about the stock market, developing. Read a book about real estate developing that was written before the last crash. Whole bunch of stuff just to see what were the sunshine pumpers saying back then that they got wrong, that how did the market school them and who was right and what were they saying? You get what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so anyways, I did all that historical research and I realized something. In the last crash, it wasn't people that couldn't make payments that caused a lot of the pain. It was banks calling notes due because people were in technical default because their net worth had shrank.
Oh, yeah. So saying bring more collateral or you can call your debt.
Well, it wasn't bring more collateral. I mean, it was pay us off in full because the bank's balance sheet was in such bad position.
Oh, yeah.
That they would look at a guy that had a bunch of money in the bank and say, you give us all your money. And he's like, my properties are performing. Why don't you go after some of these properties that aren't performing?
And they got to balance out their balance sheet. We don't need that exposure.
Yeah,
so
and they're like, you just said it. Your properties are performing. You either pay them off or we're going to take them.
Yeah.
You're in technical default. You don't have the net worth that you did before this started, so pay us off. And this was happening to a ton of highly successful people.
I had some close friends that were actually exposed to the tune of $40, $50 million, and they had a big part of their net worth in some of those portfolios, and they were wiped because they couldn't exit quick enough to get the debt paid and their equity back, so they were wiped out. But those guys were into Chase, Wells Fargo, the big boys, and those guys don't give a shit. So the debt we've been using has been more community-style banks, mid-size. And from what I continue to ask these guys, hey, we know where this is going. I keep asking them, who are you going to want to be lending to? What kind of assets do you want to have in this upcoming market? And our guys keep reporting to us, y'all are the kind of debt that we'd like to have. Because I turn around and say, great, I'm buying these warehouses at 60 to 70 cents on the dollar, and I'm portfolioing them, and I'm putting 25 to 30% down that you asked me to, and I'm really happy. These are working great, and our cash flow is great. Debt service coverage is huge. But I can build this beautiful portfolio, but in 4 years, if you call my notes due, I'm going to bankrupt, even though I've got a badass portfolio, and I don't want that.
That's right.
So what I'm having to do is reserve a little extra cash for payments, even though I don't need them. I'm just putting them in CDs so the bank sees it and they say, this guy's very responsible. And I'm staying with the right kind of banks that claim that they want this. But ultimately, I do know I've got some exposure.
Well,
and I'm going to have to go to some wealthy guy and give him 50% of my equity to bail me out if that happens. And I don't really want that, but I also believe it's probably not going to happen.
Well, I don't know. I don't know any of that. In the last crash, Eddie Gant, owner of Jet Lending, shout out Jet Lending, hit us up, R2R, roughnecktorealestate.com if you need a loan. Anyways, he had he was taking houses back at a real big clip. People were signing deeds in lieu, and he said over and over again, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that this time. So we're going to underwrite stricter. If you don't have any cash in the bank, we're getting tighter with underwriting. But the way that a lending company like that works, they use bank credit. They use credit lines. They have a ton of private money. I mean, it's an insane amount of private money, probably. I don't know. I'm not going to put their business on the street, but they have an insane amount of private money. They use that, and then they use bank debt, bank notes. But in the last crash, they had a bank call $1 million line due. They just had to pay them off, and of course, at that time they took back something. I don't remember what the number was, but they had several hundred rental properties at the end of it.
Dude, lenders aren't property managers. It drives me nuts. And people say, that bank's a monster. They want my real estate. They don't want your real estate, dude. They don't. So there are very few that actually do. Most, no.
And so anyways, they had Eddie tells it like this. And I need to really get Eddie in here and let him chop it up with us. But he would put a for sale by owner sign in the yard and a for rent sign in the yard, and whoever walked up first got it. So he was owner financing and renting. So taking that lesson from this time when interest rates started creeping up, I was like, look, we're in an asset class that we were going to have more pressure than we did before. I know that because we're in the bottom rent. We're in bottom rent. We're not in very expensive rent. We have a little bit, but we're going to have more pressure because as households shrink, right?
Yep.
I moved back in with my dad. You moved back in with your dad. Probably not us. We're probably bad candidates, but people do move back in together or start roommating. You know what I mean?
At the lower end of the rent spectrum, I believe that's what happens. They consolidate households. People give it up, but more people need that price point rent, so there's going to be more pressure on it. Same thing with people buying a house. We're at a price point. I mean, we very rarely pay more than $150,000 for anything. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So we're at a price point where it's like there's going to be more pressure on people that want to own versus rent, that just have some value system that they can never rent, so they have to own, and this is all they'll be able to afford with their DTI and all that. So we felt comfortable in that. But here's the one thing I knew was going to happen. All this stuff that we had bought at peak purchase was not going to appraise if we waited to rent it out. We knew the appraisals were going to continue to get worse and worse as people fire sold in the neighborhood. So we knew that we were going to start getting up against appraisals. We also knew the banks were going to tighten lending restrictions. So they were going to want you to have more and more money in the deal.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we immediately went with the Eddie Gant strategy and put owner finance and for rent on every single listing.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, how could you owner finance something? I'm like, I don't know. We're going to figure it out. You know what I mean? If the private money person that's there don't want to ride with us on the owner finance.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
We don't have a buyer yet. Once we have a buyer, we'll figure that one out. So we did that. And then the notes have sold so well. And people were like, why are you selling the notes? I'm like, because I got to recapitalize my private money, but they're still selling. They sell so quickly.
It's funny you say that. So we have some real estate, a lot of real estate actually, that we thought was going to sell easily to the cash market or conventional lending. It didn't. And we realized, like we know, you can sell it for more money on notes. So it hasn't been quite as strong now as it was last year, but it's still a substantial markup from the mobile homes to single family and then also to land tracts under 10 acres.
Dude,
We've done a fair amount of that. So we converted those to notes instead of selling for cash. I got a piece of land right now. It's a 10-acre tract just outside of San Antonio. Someone's buying it on a note for $145,000.
Okay.
It wouldn't sell for $100,000 on MLS. So we took it off. A realtor brought us a seller finance deal, and then we're going to sell that note for like $125 or $130.
No,
We're going to still do better that way.
You're still going to do better. Now, let me run another idea by you. We just had a note buyer bring us a bank that loaned him money to buy a note.
Huh.
Now I've heard of we've refinanced our notes.
Yeah.
We have.
That's what I see. Folks buy it all, then they refinance.
They refinance it, but I've never seen one let you go to the marketplace and buy one. So we got a meeting with that bank tomorrow. I'll give you their contact info.
That's interesting. I know a guy in our town that does that. He uses bank money to buy, but he's been doing it for 30 years. He's got a $40 million portfolio.
And this guy's a brand new real estate investor.
Huh. Wow, that's interesting.
I was like, this is the most aggressive bank we got.
Wow. Yeah.
They're going to, we need to know who they are. Now, most banks aren't taking on new clients. They're riding with who their margins are getting squeezed, so they got to loan money.
Yeah.
But they're riding with who they know can perform. So, it's getting tougher and tougher for the newbies. It's getting harder and harder for the experienced people that, didn't nurture banking relationships, that didn't nurture relationships the whole time. And for us, it's kind of like we're shifting strategies. We're going to a wholesale strategy. We're, all of our transactional income that we need to make is no longer flip money.
Yeah.
No longer flips. We're going to wholesale model, and we're just turning our network, our personal network, our friends, families, cousins. I wholesaled one to my nephews or my wife's, not my wife's, my
Nephew's wife,
my niece's husband.
Okay.
And here's the crazy part. So I wholesale this deal. It's a duplex. I'm like, here, put a $7,000 assignment fee on it. Here you go. You're in it at 80. Yeah. You got a 790 credit score. You're probably going to own this forever. But go ahead and list it and try to sell it and see what happens. He lists it for 140. It's under contract.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like,
wow.
Right in December, I'm like, he's like, oh man. I'm like, don't start spending that money. Just hold back.
Let it close.
Yeah. Let it close first. You got to go through some inspections, appraisals, all the things.
I've had a lot of folks come to us for bailouts. We still do a fair amount of pre-foreclosure work. I had a guy get referred to me not long ago. He lives in one of the most expensive subdivisions just outside of town. House he claims is worth $800,000. He just listed for $800,000 foreclosures in 4 days. He owed his bank $300,000, but he was $80,000 behind to reinstate because he hadn't made a payment since COVID. So I'm like, okay.
Is he a real estate investor?
No, homeowner. He was referred through a realtor, and the realtor is saying, how do I work this out? Normally I say, look, tell him, give him $50,000 to walk. I'll take over the debt, and then I'll go clean it up and sell it.
But now he's getting no money.
Well, here's the tricky part, man. He didn't want to leave, and he wanted to take top dollar. So I had to have a come to Jesus conversation with him and say, let's get realistic here. No one's buying this from you for top dollar. You get on the market for $825. It ain't moving. You got 4 days of foreclosure. So here's what we came up with. I invested $80,000 to reinstate his note. Mm-hmm. I took a second position to his $300,000.
Okay.
So all in, his total debt now is $80,000. So I'm thinking, $380,000. It's listed at $800,000. I'm thinking, even if it sells for $600,000, you can slash the price and we'll all get our money.
Yeah.
So I told the realtor that brought it, I said, I'm not going to charge usury rates. I can't do that. Don't want to get in trouble. But you're providing a unique service. So your listing fee is not 3%, it's 12%. Well, and he goes, can I do that? I said,
yes,
yeah.
Absolutely you can. So now everybody's showing that house.
Right. So we got it canceled with the other agent, listed it with this guy that referred it to me. I'm only charging, 10% interest, 4 points, whatever. I ain't going to make a ton on that. But the realtor is probably going to owe me some money when this is done because I figured out how to get him a 12% listing fee. Yep. Now, what's crazy is I said, you're $825 on the listing. When my guy takes it over, you're going to go at $790. But you have to lower the price $25,000 every week until it sells. So we made him sign the listing agreement because I didn't think it was worth $800,000. I didn't know it was going to sell for $7,000. But I didn't want him to get himself in a spot where he held out and then he held out my second note.
Yep.
So he's contractually obligated to lower that price. So we've been doing this. Now our price is at right around 600,000, and we're starting to get looks and offers in the fives.
That's good. And everybody's going to win.
To be disciplined. He's going to be unhappy because he doesn't walk away with the $250,000 he thought he's going to walk away with, but he's going to walk away with 50 to 80 grand. I get my money. I make a little with the realtor, and we get rid of this bad situation.
People like that are weird because he could have sold it in 21 and made a killing.
Oh my gosh!
Like, what did you do, my guy?
He would have made a couple $100 grand at least if he would have sold it then, but.
So
those are the things we're having to deal with at this point. Because I say I'm not willing to invest in this because I don't know where the bottom really is. But I'll take a second position because if that house out there in the Dominion, super fancy area, if you default, we can't get it sold, you're going to walk away and give it to me, and I'm just going to stick a tenant in there and sit on this thing for 5 years and make a little yield on my 80 grand.
Well, yeah, we got chat. We got Andrew Hosell. Hey team, greetings from North Colorado, Fort Collins. Andrew's got some low interest money out there in today's market if you're below 150, so hit him up. That is real talk. He does have today's low interest money. So, Andrew, are your lenders merely riding with tighter guidelines, or are they calling any of a market deteriorating market on a rate sheet now? I don't see a rate sheet. Never. It's kind of with us.
Man.
We had 5 banks that would do mobile homes. We have 1 that will do mobile homes now.
So just cleaning up there. This is all we're going to do.
Yeah, this is all we're going to do. And then on that, they changed the lending guidelines to basically they look at the year model mobile home. And so
they want newer?
No, they don't want newer, but they they just put it on a DSCR. Mm-hmm. So they put it on whatever DSCR they put it on, which isn't real life because they take taxes and insurance as the only 2 expenses. And then they put it at a 1.25 or 1.2 DSCR, and they back into amortization.
Huh.
So we got one that's amortized for 8 years.
Huh, okay.
It's like, all right. So they'll still loan on them, but
yeah,
they're not going to cash flow. Like
what are we getting on our credit lines? They're up to 6.5% now. They were down in the high 3s, low 4s, up to 6.5. Is the last increase. And I just get a letter. They're variable. We all signed on that. I just get a letter that says, your credit line is now 6.5, now 6.75. So we have that. On the permanent debt, I think permanent debt's in the 6s right now, or not say permanent, but most of those commercial loans are 5 to 7 year balloon, amortized at 20 years. And they're in the 6s, I think approaching 7s now.
If you're getting 6s on that, you're doing amazing. I asked Grant on his little Twitter Spaces the other day, I was like, what's the big boy debt? So I was in Grant's real estate class.
Yeah.
He went to life insurance and financed, got 1.6.
Oh my gosh.
So I asked him, what's the big boy debt now? And he's like, the big boy debt, if you can get it at 5.5, it's amazing.
That's, great AAA, like the best guys that are out there.
The best guys that are out there, 5.5 is the best they can do. Ooh. And he got a 1.6 when, you know what I mean? So it's like,
that's
it's
a
crazy.
whole different category.
It is a different category, but
grade A assets, grade A rated person, probably lots of liquidity sitting around to be safe.
Different rated person. But here's one point he did bring up, and I know you saw it. I know I saw it. So suppressing cap rates, they just got crunched. We were in an asset class that was, if you got an 8, you felt like you won. You know what I mean? That went to 6. Okay. It got into the 5s. We did a refi in Hillsboro, Texas, and got a 5 cap on the appraisal. Now we were completely under leveraged anyways, but I was like, how do you get a 5 in a town that doesn't have 7,000 people? You get what I mean? Like, this is not.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
This isn't a normal lending environment or normal deal. Anyways, so as those cap rates expand back out to 8, you can put it on a sliding scale. See how much extra cash flow you will need to get the same value you had at a 5 at an 8 cap. You're going to need to increase that NOI significantly, and you probably can't. So there's a ton of these value add guys that went in this hot market competing with everybody under the sun, and they're in that, say, 100 to 300. No, I don't. 300 might be too big, but the smaller, like we're very small multifamily, 10, 20, 30 units. Biggest one we've done is 47 units or something.
That's the area we play in.
Yeah, that's the area we play in.
Small stuff.
But we're not competing with a bunch of people.
So that's one of the neat reasons.
That is the main reason. But when it gets into that 100, 150 unit range, it seems like everybody has a little bit of a fund or something that they can go buy that with.
Because it's more economical scale-wise. That's part of why once we started getting that 40, 50 unit range, we started to find the industrial is interesting because the funds, there's a space in the industrial where it's less than 20 or 30,000 square foot of building.
Yep.
The funds won't touch that. They're looking for that big concrete tilt wall shit they can deploy, $10 million at a time.
Yep.
So I'm like less than 3 million, less than 30,000 square foot. For me, ain't nobody looking there. Only people in that space are mom and pops operators.
And they don't know what a cap rate is.
And the cool part, this is oh my gosh, this is a beautiful place I found myself in. Old man built this building 20, 25 years ago. It's metal, so it's still in perfect shape. Been running his business, granite business, equipment business, landscape business, whatever the heck out of it. And now it's time for him to wind the business down, and he just put a tenant in there, or he's closing up shop, and there's nobody in it yet. He built that thing for $500,000 or $600,000 back then.
Basis.
So he's going to sell it to me for 1.2. He's so happy. He's doubling his money.
Yep.
I'm going to make it easy on him. And where the gold is it's actually worth 2 to 3.
That's right.
And I'm paying him good money for him, and I got plenty of cream on the top.
And
there's no funds competing for that deal. So I'm not over here having to squeeze cap rates. I'm killing that.
We do that same thing in multifamily, except the seller that we have wants to sell it for basis. So he calls a CPA to give you a price on principle alone. He's like, on principle alone, I don't want to pay these taxes.
Oh my God.
I'm 85 years old. I've been doing it without paying them this long. I ain't paying none now. And so that's the deal that we run into.
Wow.
The 150 units that everybody's competing for, they went in and they had a compressed cap rate. It's value add. Okay, but probably had a ton of deferred maintenance. Nobody ever talks about the deferred maintenance and value add.
That shit is expensive.
It's expensive. So they probably had a ton of deferred maintenance, and they probably didn't notice it all anyways, didn't actually know the whole story. So they get in there, and they've got a rehab budget. They got a rehab plan that's going to be value add. They're going to change out the pool chairs and make it more trendy, paint the walls gray.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going to make it just cute as a button, and bump rents $250. Well, they're on a variable interest loan with a bridge loan on top of it.
As soon as they bump rents $250, their interest rate went up, and they're still flat.
And their interest rate went up and cap rates went backwards.
Okay.
So they're negative equity. And on top of that, they gave a preferred return to their investors because that's the only way they could get any hands on any money back then.
So I talked to somebody the other day that said they're calling all their investors and saying we're deferring the preferred payments now, and you're a priority when we exit to get those paid first, but they're deferring those distributions right now.
If y'all don't understand that, what he's saying is the preferred return of 8% they can no longer pay because they're these first bridge loan, rehab loan, whatever you want to call them on these apartment complexes. There was a ton of debt available for it, but it would be you've got a year of runway.
Yep, and you got to pay that interest every month so your investor's happy.
And then you've got the preferred return that you're paying your investors. Now maybe you haven't had to pay out that preferred return until it's stabilized. Maybe there's some trigger like that, like the preferred return kicks in once it's stabilized.
Yeah,
they can put all that stuff in there, but this rate over here was going to follow prime plus 2 or whatever it was. And at a year, it's going to readjust to prime plus 2. And what is prime plus 2 today?
Ugh.
And so their main debt, their first lien debt, balloons. And at the same time, the preferred equity hits. And their rent raises, they probably did see an increase in demand in rent raises, but multifamily properties, I don't care what anybody says right now, these Class B multifamilies are going to be hard pressed to be able to raise rents. They're not going to raise at the same rent as a single family home. Simply not. As households shrink, people have more options to live in a house versus an apartment. And people are going to pick a house over an apartment if they have a family. And that's just simple education tells me if I can live in a Class A property or a Class B property or a house for the same money, Class B is going to be last on the list. And that's it. Yeah. So they're not going to get the rent raises that everybody else is going to get, and they're up against a softening cap rate. All of this is the perfect storm of these people go in default.
Yeah.
And what you said, the investors that brought the equity.
The tricky part is I think the equity that came in, that stuff starts to get stressed where the bank's in that first position.
They don't
if
care.
the bank causes them to sell, all those equity investors are probably going to be the ones that are going to lose.
They're going to get wiped. They're going to get wiped.
Because the next round of guys they're not waiting for it to go to mega cheap, but they're looking to get enough for it to make sense. And that's the equity piece that gets vanished.
It does get vanished. And then the bank, on top of that, the bank, if you did get it stabilized, if you did get your value add done, if you did get tenants in there and get it at 100% occupied or 90% occupied or whatever it was, to be able to go for the permanent debt. Now the permanent debt's rates increased as well. And you're up against an appraisal that's not going to appraise the same. So maybe you have to have a capital call to even be able to get
that to work.
To get
so
the
now what
original debt to
happens?
work.
So we said, all right, these things are kind of starting to get stressed today. And folks are saying, that's cheap, that's a good deal. My response lately has been, that's cheap, but that ain't next summer cheap.
That ain't next summer cheap.
And no one wants to make these long forecasts. They say, oh, this is going to last this long, that long. I hear people say, this is going to last until the end of next year. I think they're doing that because it's for sure not going to be over in January. It might take 5 or 10 years, but no one wants to forecast that long. So I feel like they want to push it into a time that maybe possibly could make sense, but no one still knows. So you say, into next year.
Well, but think about what happens. Even if it was over there hasn't been enough pain in the marketplace now.
Yeah,
but
I feel like we have a long way to go.
Once there becomes pain in the marketplace, it could end like a massive amount of pain in the marketplace. A ton of people get wiped out. It could end the next day, and by it I mean interest rates could go back down to 3, but people aren't going to come rushing their money back in. Why? They just got spanked. Real estate's a scam. You know what I mean? You can't win.
Takes a while. The neat thing is humans' memory is very short, but it ain't a day or two short. It's a couple of years short.
It's a couple of years short. So there's still going to be that lag where everybody that gets their bottom spanked is gonna hang out on the sidelines for a lot longer. And then, it takes a while.
And it takes a while for money to start circulating again, for confidence to start to happen. And then you get into that spot when the market goes upwards where it's each new person's willing to pay $1 more to get the next deal. That's when this starts to happen again. The economic engine fires up.
The next fool.
Yeah.
We did I'm just a realist. So here's what I do know.
Yeah.
I do know I can install a mobile home for $95,000, everything right now in today's marketplace. And I do know that I can turn around and try to sell it for $150. If it doesn't sell for $150, I know I can rent it for $1,500 a month because I got 5 of them rented for $1,500 a month in the same neighborhood, and they rent like that. So if I can do that all cash, so if I can take all the private money that we've acquired over the years of doing this and exchange it to equity and say, hey, look, I'm now going to give you 90% equity, and we're going to flip houses, and we're going to rent houses, and we're going to own or finance houses, and we're going to sell notes. We might even go buy some notes, and we're going to go buy some other distressed assets. We might take some stuff subject to. We're going to do basically a blind fund for X number of dollars. Yeah. We're going to give up 90% of it. We can give 90% of it to the investors, and we're going to turn our business into that, to where it's just, we're going to roll that money the same way, but we don't have debt. It's all
it's a different way.
And so we're going to do that, but then what do we get to do? We get to go install mobile homes. We get to install septics.
How long can you lock those folks in? Or how long are they going to be locked in?
5 years. With an option to extend. But it's such a small amount. I mean, $5 million just ain't a lot of money. But it's such a small amount to where if somebody came in and said, man, I need my money back, we could replace it. And we're still going to have part of our private capital for our own flipping operation.
Yeah.
But we're just going to take our skill set that we've built and put it to work and put it to work for the investors and give up. I mean, we're not doing it to make fees. We're not doing it for the 10%. We're doing it for our investors that have rode with us so they can make most of the money on this deal. And so our guys, DJ and them and all of our guys that we got can stay working. So they don't have to look up and go, when are we going to get laid off? We're not going to get laid off. We're going to continue to install mobile homes. We're going to continue to flip properties. We're going to continue to do what we do in our little niche that is small. Everybody always, it's small, it's too rural, it's too this, it's too that.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to do that until the market turns back around. And then when the market turns back around, whatever that fund's holding, you know what I mean, will be worth double or whatever it is. And then we'll liquidate it and then we'll ask them again, hey, do you want to go do something bigger now? Do you want to?
That's an interesting point. You're not talking about growing and trying to explode and kill it, double your business. What I'm basically hearing you say is we want to maintain.
Well, we're going to grow. I mean, we grow naturally, but like we don't have a revenue problem, right? So it's like if we stop tomorrow, if we just said, look, we're going to shut this thing down, our property management company would be fine, our rentals would be fine, everything would be fine, but there would be several people, several contractors, several other people that wouldn't be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, what do you do to maintain that? Like, how do you do it? So we went to all of our private money people, and they're ready. We think now is the time to buy. We do believe that now is the time to buy. You market every day. You talk to your guys. How often do you talk to your wholesaling company?
I mean, the guy who's running, I talk to him daily.
And how is the temperature changing, or how does he say the temperature's changing for sellers, people that are actually starting to wake up and realize, oh, my house is worth less now?
And we're getting some stuff. The problem we have is most of that stuff is commercial and it has income on it. So when we go tell them, hey, the market's so much different, we can't give you this amount, we can only give you this amount, they say, well, I don't give a shit. I'm still getting $13,000 a month in rent. Nothing's changed. The market hasn't changed. And we say, dude, you're watching TV. We know you are. And they say, well, I still get $13,000 in rent.
That's right.
So that's kind of a little bit of trouble. But where it's happened with them is the other folks that were hot and heavy and ready to buy from them, they're starting to back away a little bit now. So our spin has to be more, okay, remember all those offers you're getting, how are those looking now? And because they don't have, oh, that other guy's going to give me this, those guys are starting to back off. Now they're starting to listen to us some.
Well, what I always say with theirs, like, I agree with you. I agree nothing's changed. That's why it's the time to sell. You know what I mean? Because when something changes in your business, when that 13 goes to 8, you know what happens next.
Yeah, I think a lot of the opportunity that we've had is where folks are saying it's just time for me to sell. It doesn't have to do with the market. It's I'm retiring. My kid doesn't want to do this. That's been the bigger message for us.
But what about single family?
Well, so one of our business lines is pre-foreclosure still. That's still pretty heavy, somewhere between 5 and 10 every single month. And those are still continuing to do really well, but they're insulated. It's different. They have a distress level that's not like the regular person.
So y'all never
they gotta sell.
Y'all never did broad single family negotiations.
Not necessarily like that. It's always, I'm losing my house next month. What do I do? Here's what I can do for you.
Yeah. Ours
Yeah.
we're out there in the sticks. We're talking to people at all different levels. We offered somebody $160,000 for a house on the lake. June. We offered it in June.
Yeah.
And they said, no, I got a real estate agent tell me I can get more. And I'm like, I agree that the real estate agent can get you more. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
But you don't need an offer. You need a close. Well, they put it on the market, and it did. It went under contract a couple of different times. 220, 225. They started out at 250. Okay. Wow. So it went under contract a couple of different times, 220, 225, and then it needed this repair, needed that repair, needed this. It got worse and worse and worse. You know what I mean? And now they've dropped the list price to 225, and it's just, we got one on the same lake listed that we bought for 140. We got it listed for 199. It hadn't had a showing, not a showing. I mean,
so two messages. One of them, they ain't getting what they totally wanted. The other one is, maybe you feel good about not buying that for 160 because by the time you sell it for 180, you wouldn't make any money after fees and carrying costs.
That's right. So they come back to us and like, yeah, that was our offer then.
It was.
And we told you, but we'll do 130 now. Now, this is before we knew it was even listed. We just said we'll do 130. And the reason why we'll do 130 is because we know that we can put a tenant in there and it'll rock. A tenant on that lake, that house, $2,000 a month.
Yeah, that's my backup plan.
So it's going to rock. And I also know that there's only a limited number of lake houses on this lake. There's also a limited number of mobile homes allowed on the lake. And so I'm backing into an asset that is irreplaceable. Like that lot will always allow another mobile home to go on that lot.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So as this lake becomes $1 million homes, which is what's starting to happen to it, I'm going to be sitting there like the up house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't care. I gotta till I die horizon on lake houses on this particular lake. I will buy every single one that's below 150 for that comes available to me forever, because I know that as long as the lake's there, this real estate's going to continue to get more valuable.
Yep.
I missed all the opportunities on my lake at home. You know what I mean? And now it's built up and there's going to be no more opportunities. I mean, you can buy them, but you're going to pay. Yeah. And so anyways, we bought them and, we got that one contracted for 130, and then we looked it up and we're like, it's listed for 225. And that's when we were like, oh my gosh. Like, and then we went and looked at like, hey, we called the real estate agent. What happened on this? You know what I mean? They told us and we're like, what a crazy story. Like, and they're so happy that they're getting 130. So happy to be away from it. They're so tired of going under contract and then getting told everything that
The way
it
I look
needs.
at your second one is the best deal I ever did is one I didn't do.
Yeah.
You look at that one and say, God, that would be one of those deals you sell for basis to get out, and you didn't even think it'd be that bad.
It didn't, yeah. So, but we would rent it out. We don't never, if we can put a tenant in place,
Yeah.
we have no problem owning it forever.
That's a different strategy. I got so frustrated. We early on, we said, let's build this rental house portfolio. And I'm not real big on management. I don't love that. And it got to be where I hated that. So we got rid of all the rentals. And now you can buy a warehouse, 17,000 square foot warehouse in Conroe, Texas. We just contracted 2 days ago. We'll spend $1 million on it, and it's got $15,000 a month in income. Now, it's gross income. That's not net. But
triple net, ain't it?
Well, right now it's gross.
Really?
That's the way the old man operator ran it. But we're going to, the rent rates the way they are in the area, we can convert that to a net.
Yeah.
So within the first 12 months, we'll get it 14 to 16,000 in net rents once those leases come due. And now you're in a 15 cap on $1 million. And instead of having 10 fucking rent houses, I got 3 businesses. Easier life.
I do agree it's easier life, but it's not. But
And my bank, once I get that thing done, my bank can give me 70% of my money back.
this is all true, but the person that wants to get into real estate can't go do them.
No.
I mean, they can, but they can't. You got
Right. So talking to that audience, a whole different ballgame. The $130,000 house rents for $2,000 all day. Those were the deals that I was looking for in the beginning.
That's it. That's it. But the reason why the management side doesn't bother me is because we don't do the management. I mean, we got a property management company, but I ain't.
Yeah, that definitely helps for sure. Then
But you know what I was doing this morning?
what?
Calling and making. I leased a unit this morning. Brenton, hope you're fucking watching. You know, but you know why I do that? To find out
it can be done.
To show it can be done, but find out what's going on in the marketplace. To see what is the vibe. I want to know what the vibe is, and I only get the vibe by getting on the call.
Yeah.
So whenever I was negotiating a deal via text this morning, I think I might have put the screenshot into Roughneck Real Estate, the group, but I was negotiating a deal via text this morning on our software because I was like, I'm going to go into the office, I'm going to do these 4 things. And I went in there and I'm negotiating, and I got a real estate agent in the middle of a sub 2, and they're
freaking out because it's illegal.
No.
Oh.
They won't get out of the way. I'm like, look, I'll take over that mortgage. I'll pay them whatever, take over that mortgage and let them go. Let them vamonos. They just want to move back home with their family. They're trying to move back in with their family. And anyways, and she's like, no, we're not going to do that. And I was like, well, you've already had it listed for, you know what I mean, 200 days. Like, you're being really unfair. And it's a brand new build. I thought whenever they reached out, I thought it was a builder. Because the neighborhood doesn't exist. Like, you can't Google Earth. It's they bought it in June, and they're fire selling it in November.
Golly.
So, or in December, I guess. Might be January by now. But anyways, they're fire selling it. You know, they just want payoff on the deal, and the agent I'm like, look, I believe in this area well enough that I will take it sub 2. I'll do it. But can't do it with you.
Yeah.
In the middle of this, being angry about it. So, what's some other stuff you're seeing? Like overall, revenue wise, shrinking on the wholesale side, staying the same. Other investors, when you talk to them, are they still puffing their chest out and acting like the world's on fire? Or are they?
You know, I'm hearing some honesty. You know, folks don't want to admit it up front, but you get talking long enough, and a couple of weeks, months pass, you're hearing that folks are struggling. You know, anybody who's dealing in land, I notice, is struggling. We've had some land deals. Last year, we did great buying land from 25 acres to 200 acres in that range within an hour or two from the big MSAs, and those would sell fast. We would get them for 50 to, towards the end of the year, we got up to 75 cents, 80 cents on the dollar because we had the confidence in it. Yeah. And the very last piece we bought was in January. And I remember thinking, let's back off. And we bought that one at 80 cents on the dollar. I think we paid no, that's not right. We paid $650,000 for it. We were going to sell it for $1 million. So we thought we were going to make, 300 range maybe when it was done. We just closed on that and we made $50,000. Hey. To me, that's basically a break even because the time I was worried we were going to lose. It ended up selling for $700,000 instead of $1 million.
But
so
$50,000.
I mean, $50,000, but $50,000 on $650, that ain't no good. That was
no. Well, it's the old just double your bet at the whatever table.
Yeah,
At the roulette table, just double your bet, but at the end you won $1 million, or you won $5, but you risked $1 million to do it.
right. So that's very similar concept there because we rolled upwards. I see the land is definitely taking a hit. The commercial stuff, we've done really well in the last year and a half, wholesaling, small multifamily.
Yep.
In the industrial, it seems like the industrial buyers are still a little bit stronger for some reason. We do wholesale some of the industrial stuff too. I don't really know why, but I guess I do know why, the interest rates. But the buyers for the smaller multifamily stuff are starting to back off a little bit, getting more disciplined. I noticed the tertiary markets, we're not able to wholesale them as quickly and easy, even secondary. So we've focused some of our marketing efforts into back in the middle of the MSAs again because we just think there's still more confidence with the buyers on those at the tight margins.
But also, I think overall, there's a lot of pain in the marketplace right now because inventory is still an issue for a lot of people. But buyers, the buyers have just evaporated.
And that's what creates the tightness, I feel like.
It just, it's like it's so difficult right now when you're dealing with a buyer. They have all the leverage in the deal. People aren't used to that. They're not used to getting bullied around by a buyer.
That's actually worth talking about. On our single family, a lot of the pre-foreclosure stuff is single family, and it's lower price point, less than $250. So in the Bear County area, so those still vanish. Even still getting people that want to buy those to flip them because they can deliver it to the market for $250, $275, and still do fine. So we don't have any problem moving those. That's probably the fastest moving asset that we've got these days. Yep. But every once in a while, in the last 3 years, when people come to me with these negotiating strategies and strategies and tactics, I laugh. I'm like, forget it. Someone else will come buy it. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Well, this is a problem. Great. It's not a problem for the next guy. And I love that. And it's easy.
Yeah.
And my wife's our agent, so she deals with the stuff that hits the market. Mm-hmm. And I'm having to put my pride aside because folks will come back, and while those assets will still sell, I can't just tell them get lost because I need to make it work with that buyer because the other buyer might not show up for several weeks and it's not worth me waiting. Dude, so I'm having to put my pride and ego aside. When they give me some shit, I got to say, let me be realistic about it and just say instead of saying get lost.
Well, I had one that was showing a lot. It was showing a bunch in this market. Mm-hmm. It was showing a bunch. And it was just showing. I was like, man, we're getting a lot of showings. We got a cash offer come in. I think we had it listed for $119, paid $60 for it. Got listed for $119. Cash offer comes in $105.
Take it.
I took it.
Yes, that's a good move.
Well, yeah.
Some of our guys will fight with me. Well, let's try to counter them on this term, that term. We didn't counter. Take the offer as is. But they got an option period. I don't care. Want them to close.
Yeah, that's it. So we took it. And
it's not that you're not going to make the other 30. It's that you're still going to make 50 on the front side.
Yeah, we were happy. And he went out and did his inspection. He come back to be a bully.
Wants 95.
He wanted 95.
I'm gonna say, take it.
Yeah, and I was like, man, we're getting a lot of showings.
Let's negotiate up to 100.
No. I'm not that. But I had a lot of confidence at that moment because I was getting a lot of showings. So I was feeling cocky. I was feeling good about it. You know what I mean? I said, no problem. We love 95. But close Friday.
There you go. Get something back.
Yeah. Like, look, you're proving you're not a buyer right now by renegotiating. You know what I mean? This deal's been a deal. It's a deal at 120. You already got a discount. You come back for another discount. I don't have a problem giving you another discount, but I want you to close Friday. Well, he vominosed.
What?
Yeah, now it's been like, a month and
it's so I like the fact that you're getting them to push back on the price and maybe you can get you closed sooner. But we've had several of them. That big ranch I was talking about, they wanted a long option. They wanted to inspect the well. They want to do all this stuff no one would do in the past. And my partner came in my office and was telling me about that. And I was like, give it to them. Well, why don't we negotiate them on days? I'm like, give them what they fucking want because I want this to sell.
Yep. I had that conversation with Spoon this morning. Spoon's like these guys want a water well. I'm like, water well's $30,000. You bought it for $320. You're selling it for $670.
Give them a well.
You might want to give them a well. You know what I mean? You might want to figure the well out. And he's like, no. I'm like, trust me, Spoon. Just trust me. Like, even if they come back and renegotiate price down.
So that goes back to something I was bringing up earlier. I feel like I mentioned it to you, but you said this really isn't quite my message. My message to a lot of the guys, I got some guys in a coaching program and my partners. My message has been, guys, look, if we don't make any profit this next year, we keep all of our people employed, we cover any of our debt, we keep things going, and I'm not trying to grow the balance sheet for the next 12 months. That ain't my goal. My goal is to keep everybody happy and don't spend the capital we've taken 10 years to build and grow. Don't burn that. Don't have any losses. Let's just coast. Everybody take a fucking breather. Chill out. We've killed it for 10 years, everybody. Pat yourself on the back. Take a little vacation. Work part-time weeks. Let's relax and make our business better and tight and clean. And let's just watch.
I'm in the same kind of, when it comes to growing though, it's like growth is easy because it's just an action game. Like for us, I'll give you an example. We bought a duplex for $2,500. Did you ever think you wouldn't be able to sell a duplex in any condition anywhere in the state of Texas?
In the last 10 years, I never thought I couldn't sell anything.
So we bought a duplex for $2,500.
It's cheap.
And
somebody wants to live there, right?
I was like, regardless of what's going on with this.
Does it have a roof?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, somebody's going to want to tackle this behemoth.
Oh shit! We got a $20,000 house out there in Iran County.
Yeah.
And we can't sell the motherfucker.
All right. So we
Can I cuss this much on this channel?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so we wanted to we wanted to get Wade said thanks for getting back to his yesterday, Logan. He's got the park contracted.
You got it, Wade. Good job.
So we got it going. It's on the market finally.
For how much?
14. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like we paid cash for it. We forget we own it 90% of the time. It's just on a whiteboard somewhere, and every now and then I walk by the whiteboard and I'm like, "Hey, hold on." So we got a new intern, Brenton, and he does leasing. He don't know come here from Sikkim, so we just put him in bad situations all day where he's on the phone. He don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what a duplex is. He don't know anything. But we got a investor lift.
Okay.
And so we're like, go into this town on God mode and call everybody. Just call everybody and let them know. So he's doing this the day after Thanksgiving, mind you. I didn't know they were going to be in the office. I walked in the office, they were there. I was
Good
like,
for them.
It's like, why are y'all here? They're like, oh, we didn't. I'm like, all right, well.
Because I'm sick of my family.
Well, kind of, I guess. But anyway, so put him on there. Well, he beat the bushes enough in Investor Lift, and it's listed on MLS, that people started reaching out to the listing.
Huh.
So he's calling, and he don't know what well, I'm like, look, and this is what I told him. I said, look, if you sell it for $5,000, whatever you sell it for, I don't care what you sell it for. Whatever you sell it for, you get all the proceeds.
Oh, yeah. Get it on my balance sheet. I'll pay you.
Yeah. Whatever you sell it for, you get the balance. So just stay with it. Like whatever you sell it for, that's your Christmas bonus. Whatever. If you end up only being able to sell it for $1, then you only get $1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But just get it sold. You get every bit of the proceeds that we have in that deal. And so anyways, he beat the bushes. And he does it. Like, I'm like, anytime you got downtime, keep your notes. Whoever's warm or going to go yesterday or tomorrow or the Thursday, just follow him up. And he's in Cardone U, so he's, good at following.
Learn how to sell.
So anyways, but we're getting 2 offers on it now. And one dude flew in from out of state.
What?
I was like, so it's an action game still, but we've never had to put that much work into selling a $2,500 duplex.
It's funny you say that. In our wholesaling business, we had 6 people in acquisition, 2 in dispo. You know what it's flipped? We pushed all those people to dispo. We got 2 in acquisition.
Yep.
And the 2 in acquisition got it easy.
They do got it easy because people are coming to them. They get to negotiate.
That's a good point. We are working much harder to sell stuff in all areas.
So in the phone call, this is just common human nature. Right now, your phone, what's your preferred method of communication? Meaning you communicate 90% of the time where?
Text
on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
And we have each other's numbers.
Yeah.
We could open up our phone and we don't. We text in Facebook Messenger.
Good point. Yeah.
So that's where we communicate. We get emails. You know what I mean? If you emailed me and it was something important, you couldn't make me think it's important enough because we don't communicate enough on email. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I open it up, something that is important is going to catch my eye and I'm going to dive into that.
Yeah.
I'll get back to your email in the morning whenever I'm going through my old emails, So people are like that. What's the least common way that people communicate now? Phone. So that's where we're calling.
Yeah.
Because when you call, so right now we tripled out every single human. So if I call you once and you don't answer, I hang up, give it a beat, call you twice, and then on the third call, I leave a voicemail, okay? I know you're not going to check the voicemail, so then I send you a text message, but I don't text you, hey, this is Corey. I take a video and send you a video.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Logan, this is Corey, trying to reach out to you about your property over here on such and such, or I got a property you might be interested in. Give me a call back. Boom, and I send it. Why? Spam don't send videos with your name in it.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
You know, so I'll show you this. This is for the people, okay? Whip this baby out. So Brenton's doing that yesterday, and I don't think Ryan wants me to tell a story, but I'm gonna tell a story anyways because it's fucking funny. So we're doing it yesterday. We're doing leasing training. So I've got all of the people in property management doing lease training. So I'm showing them how to follow up, showing them how to do everything. And I get to the selfie video. Nobody wants to do the selfie video. Oh. And I'm like, this is to lease a place. This isn't to buy a place. This isn't to sell a place. It's just to get a tenant in place. Nobody's ever had to work this hard to get a tenant. It's an action game. So we're going to put more action on the street. Well, we get to when we're doing remote showings, people got to send us a selfie and their ID. And so this girl went to a showing. She sent us a selfie. And her name's Caitlin, and that's Brenton's ex-girlfriend's name. And she's a heavyset girl. And Brenton's ex-girlfriend was a heavyset girl, too. So I'm like, this is in your wheelhouse. A bigger Caitlin, you should be able to do it. So you know.
Send her a video.
Send her a video. Get your angles right. You want to look cute. You know what I mean? You don't want to mess up the second sell opportunity.
Do some push-ups first.
So this is the video he sends. Now, you don't see what he's saying, but look at that video. Is that not just terrible?
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like he's like on a crime program or something.
It's so bad. So bad. So he says
that looks like an evidence exhibit. This is what the perpetrator said.
He sends a video. So she responds. Yesterday. I'm going to read you the response. There's 3 text messages here.
Never do this again, sir.
I wish. It's even better. The story's going to get so good before it gets over. So I'm not getting the apartment anymore, but if you're single, we can still talk. Googly eye emojis. He doesn't reply. Have you seen a picture of me? I can send one. Hide eyes monkey emoji. Just as a forewarning, I'm a thick alt bitch, but like in the best ways. LOL.
What does alt mean?
Well, I think it's the purple hair.
Alternative. It's like,
you
know. So she sends him this. Well, he doesn't tell me this yesterday, right? So today
you're like, what's up with that lead? Is she going to lease?
No. Well, today we're going, like, I'm in there in the office and I'm doing leasing and I'm doing this, but I'm like real loud. I'm in my office. They're in their offices. But I'm on the phone and I'm like, did you hear that shit, Brenton? Did you hear what Dad just did? I don't hear you making no calls. And then, you know what I mean? I'm back on the phone. So I'm in there and I'm talking shit. And he goes, that lady texted me back because I was sending selfie videos. And he's like, that lady texted me back yesterday. She wants to go on a date. And I'm like, wait, what? What? Whoa. And he's like, yeah. And he read it. And he goes, and then she added me on Snapchat. And she said she's in a poly relationship. And that her boyfriend has approved of him.
Oh.
And I'm like, Brenton, I have so many questions. Like, in the poly relationship, in the approval, like, does that mean he's going to be, like, on the date too? Like if y'all are sitting on the couch, are you sitting in the middle and you got one of them sitting on each side of you? Like, how does this go? You gotta do the market research.
Does he got a long leash? Lets her go.
Maybe. I don't know. But anyways, so the selfie videos, I will tell you this. If anybody is not using the selfie videos,
you get attention, I bet.
Dude, they reply. They know as soon as they know you're a human.
We just got a spike in viewership for that, Corey. So
it's good. It's good.
That's an interesting point.
The selfie videos do work. I mean, we use them religiously.
Yeah.
Are you in Cardone U?
We have it for our sales guys. Yeah, I've watched a lot of it.
Dude, the selfie video. It's one of the first. When I watched that, I was like, well, you know what? I've done it on Snapchat a bunch. I was like, I'll start doing it. And we've had, when our sales girls do it, they've got to like look just so
clean up.
They use a
You know
filter.
what this makes me think of? When I first started doing real estate deals by myself, I remember thinking, I will do anything to get people to sell me these properties. And when it was time to sell them, I said, I will do anything to get people to buy these properties. And I'd get a realtor and list it on MLS. And I would personally call all the people in the area. I'd be sending them freaking emails and texts. And my realtor's like, dude, that's my job. And I'm like,
who cares?
Whatever, it's my job too. So we've had some conversation over the last few months in our office about the kind of work we're having to do now. And I would say we're putting in multiples of the same labor hour to get the same effect now. It's taking a lot more work. But the folks that are willing to put in that work, they're going to be the guys. I remember talking to some guys say, don't worry, you're going to be fine. You're bright, you're hardworking, you're not going to let yourself fall apart. You might have some shitty months, but you ain't missing no meals.
That's right.
You're that personality, you won't go hungry. And they're looking at me saying, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes, I promise. I know how this works now. I feel good about this. You're going to be fine."
So, as a non-real estate agent, are you a real estate agent? Yeah, you're a non-real estate agent too, but you got a wife that's a real estate agent.
Right.
I don't know if you'd get in trouble for this, but I got our agent in trouble.
What happened?
So I set up, you know what LiveCom is? I mean, it's Mitch Stevens' little business. So I set him up a LiveCom number to where it would call that number, but it'd ring his phone. Okay. And then I pulled the entire agent database in Waco. And there was 1,800 agents at the time, and all their phone numbers.
You did some lead gen for them?
And so I recorded a voicemail that said, "Hey, I heard you had a client that's looking for a property in Azle School District. If you could give me a call back." And I dropped that voicemail to all 1,800.
His phone exploded.
And I didn't tell him. So I didn't tell him that's what I was doing. So he's just sitting somewhere, and all of a sudden his phone rings. He got 435 calls.
That's incredible return.
Well, it was a hot market. But I was like, I would call him. I'd be like, "Is our property showing?" He'd be like, "No, it's not showing. It hadn't got any showings."
Let me fix this.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, I was like, "It's a good looking property. I'll doll this thing. I mean, it's a good school district. It's a great property. Like, what, people just don't know it's there. I'll let them know it's there."
I'll fix that.
It sold. It sold off of that RVM, but he couldn't take the volume of calls. He's like, "Man," and then he knew. Like, he knew I was...
Something went down.
Yeah, he was like, "Don't ever do that again. Like, you're going to get me in trouble. We can't use whatever recorded messages. We can't do this." Oh, he's like, "You're putting my license at risk." And I'm like...
By the way, well, you're welcome for that commish.
Well, I was just... at the time, I was like, "Well, what's that got to do with you? It was me. You didn't do nothing." You know what I mean? Like, you were just my agent on the deal.
You
like,
throw me under the bus any day.
Yeah, like, just tell him you don't know what happened. The owner did it. Like, and you didn't know what was happening. I didn't give you a heads up.
We put that makes me think, we just put a wholesale deal in Houston on MLS not long ago, and the broker or the realtor on the other side, there's the buyer realtor, started giving us a bunch of shit saying they're calling Trek and all this kind of stuff. And I remember everyone in the office freaking out, and I started laughing. They're like, "Why are you laughing?" I'm like, "We're not realtors. They're going to call Trek." I'm like, "I know. Are they going to make you lose your license?"
Yeah.
"Well, no, it's Trek." I'm like, "What's Trek going to do to you?"
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, dude, people, I mean, anyways, I've done that. Now, the emails are a little bit harder to get, but if you got the emails, I know people that like...
Oh, they blast.
Well, the email blasts.
We'll blast in the area, so we'll scrape for sales that happen in the area with those realtors and stuff like that. But with us tightening up our markets and the type of asset we're doing, we're actually starting to build the relationships in the area with brokers that deal with that type of stuff. Strangely enough, that's a sale. A lot of our dispo stuff is starting to happen through brokers. I'd say about half of that's working through Investor Lift. About the other half is working through a network of brokers we built a relationship with.
I don't understand. I've asked several brokers, call them. I'm like, "Hey, yeah." And these are people I know. And I'm like, you got, how many agents you got now? I got 10 agents. How many buyers are they working with? "Oh, I don't know." Like, how do you not know that? You know what I mean? Like you have an agreement to show them houses. You know what I mean? Like, this is the most crucial part of today's market. You are a real estate broker.
That goes into the whole 80% of humans are just not really good at what they do and don't really care.
I'm like, I'd be having a fucking weekly meeting and crafting.
So that's the exact reason why I was telling our guys, you're the kind of guy that's not going to go out of business. You're the kind of guy that's going to do just fine in all this because of that right there.
It's like, I'm just like, dude, you've got to know. Like, if I was a broker and I had 200 agents working for me, I would know.
Send me a report. Let's have a meeting. I'd like to know to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Well, how many buyers are you working with? And guess what? Here's how many listings we have in office.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is an ecosystem. Let's see if we can't show these properties first. You know what I mean? Let's get everybody eating.
I noticed the commercial brokerages do really well at that.
They
and
do.
Also, there's a company called Austin Realty in Austin. They're one of the bigger brokerages for residential. They do really good at that. The big boys got it figured out.
They do. I mean, it's an ecosystem, and you want to do it in a manner that everybody on your team's eating. So, anyways, I did learn that from you, by the way, and that's something that we do. I'm calling the people that have sold stuff in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But now we're calling people that have stuff listed. So if they have something similar listed,
okay.
we call them and we're like, "Hey, how many showings have you had?" "I've had 10. Great.
Man, the crazy part is that's what we have to do nowadays because you can't just blast to a lot of people and a sale happens. And that's a lot more work. So people are earning a lot fewer dollar per hour, but that's what you have to do.
That's just what you have to do.
You want to sell, dude? That's what you got to do.
I call them like, what are the agents that have shown your property? I'm going to send you the agents that have shown mine. You send me the agents that have shown yours, and then you got to go reach out to all those agents. You know what I mean? And say, hey, look, is your buyer still in the marketplace? Would you show them my property? I'm offering a 5% commission on the buyer side.
You know, speaking of that type of tactical work, I remember talking to a broker that had some stuff listed for us. It was not my wife. It was somebody else in a different area. We got all these showings. We got this, we got that. Here's our feedback. And I said, okay, well, what did the follow-up call sound like when you called the agent?
I didn't follow up.
Well, this is the feedback they sent us. And I'm like,
No.
I would always, when it was my listings early on, I would always call the person that went to walk it, the agent, and say, how did they like the house? Oh, they liked it. It was nice. Are they going to make an offer? No. Then what is it that they didn't like about the house? Then I also ask, at what price does this make sense? Well, they weren't really interested. I said, okay, hold on, stop. At $400,000, it's listed for, they don't have interest. But at $10, I bet they buy this house. Is that right? Yeah, they'd buy it for $10. Okay, great. Well, there's another number in there that ain't $10, but it ain't $400. What's that look like? Well, I don't really know. I would like you to call your client and ask. And the strange thing is, if you have 4 or 5 of them call and ask, you start to find a number that's actually in a pretty close range.
It might be $390.
Right. So the market's speaking. So now I know either I know to lower the price or I need to tell that person I'll give it to you for $390.
Dude,
that's the work.
So we're doing the exact opposite. Now after a showing's happening at 9 o'clock in the morning, at 9:30,
boom, call them.
No, they have our offer with concessions.
Oh, you're saying we're willing to take this?
We give them concessions on our offer. We email it to them. Now we don't know their buyer's name or anything, so it's just a contract that they have to fill out the other half of and say, these are the concessions we're willing to give, on the hope that they play the game with us and counter.
That's interesting.
So when you're
countering yourself because you already have it listing, but just enough to get the engagement and say, we're serious, come play ball, let's see where the shakes.
We don't even ask for their feedback. We send them a counter offer with concessions. We're buying down points. We're putting a kitchen in. We're doing whatever little knick-knack stuff to where it's like, because the woman's on the other side of that. She's going, wait, what?
I get new cabinets?
Ooh, let's talk to them. Let's quit looking. Let's start negotiating.
That goes back to what you just said earlier. It's an action game.
It's an action game.
If I get out there and get in the trenches, something's going to happen.
It's going to happen. You can't tell me if you do this every single day, something ain't going to happen. Now, on the flip side of that, we got a dude that's sitting there calling people, rattling the bushes. We got agents answering the phone, taking offers, making counter offers on our behalf. We've got a network of people that are working really hard to do this, but then, at the end of the day, it comes back to the product. You know what I mean? Like, it's always going to come back to what you're buying, what you're selling, what's going on there. But if you get enough eyeballs on it, if you can get enough people to look at it, then it's going to come through. We got a cash offer this morning on a property we were trying to rent through our rental software. So a Hispanic family saw the sign and didn't realize it was for rent, called the number, wanted to buy. The person that saw that text message that said, no, we want to buy, put it into our Teams software, our little global communication on the listing for the agent. Mm-hmm. The agent sees it on Teams, calls them, says, hey, have you gone by and looked at it? And they're like, yeah, we'll pay $95,000 cash. Cost basis on it's $46,000.
Make you some money.
And we're like, we'll take it. We were going to rent it for $1,500 a month, but I'm like, today's market, that's a sell.
Yeah, so, I'll take that money right there. I agree with that.
Who we got here?
I was just trying to find something relevant, and this was interesting.
We got a child.
Right. That's also why it's interesting.
Hey. Good to hear. I wanted to make some time this week to follow back up with you regarding that property on LaSalle Street. Just seeing where you're currently staying with that property.
You want something that is cheap so you can sell, resell it and make money, right?
We are investors. We're looking to, buy property at the moment so we can put some money into it and either keep it in our rental portfolio or, sell it back off on the market.
Yeah, I'm looking for 100,000.
You're looking for 100,000?
Yeah.
No wiggle room. You're pretty firm at that number. I mean, if we were to get this wrapped up and closed in the next 2 weeks, cover the closing costs, you don't have any wiggle room to work with us?
Yeah, if your offer is good.
Okay, I gotcha. I mean, I always like to ask people, just out of curiosity, what has you thinking about selling the property?
Yeah, I'm tired of holding on to it because I have tenants.
Right off the bat, when she said 100 grand, I would have pulled the Mitch Stevens. Why so much?
Yeah.
Let him justify.
I'm tired of going to court up and down, so that's why I want to get rid of it.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely help take care of that, and get this off of your hands. Is there any reason why you want to really sell for 100? Because just looking at the assessment from last year, I mean, the property was assessed for 65,000. So I can't seem to imagine where you're getting 100,000 from. Unless
see your
you
number.
did a
I
total
can call her
rehab
right
to
now.
it within the past year.
You didn't show me the number.
Did some rehab.
What'd you end up doing to the property? You put in new kitchen and all that good stuff?
Oh no, we just paint it and make it look nice so we can rent it out. And I have people living there right now.
Okay. How have the tenants been treating you? Is that somebody that
He's looking, he's digging.
They be pretty easy going.
He's trying to find the motivation.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have made my offer.
So far, the government's been helping her, but
The offer, the counter will tell you the motivation.
Yeah, that sounds pretty typical. Well, I mean, hey, like I said, the property was assessed last year for 65,000. I mean, would you even consider anything in that realm?
I have to talk to my fiance and see what he thinks.
Yeah, she didn't say no.
Give
Okay.
you an offer right now.
If your fiance was here, what do you think he would want?
So you guys are willing to
Have you ever talked to him before about it? What did he say then?
I mean, I think that's definitely a reasonable ballpark that we'd be willing to work with. We definitely want to still, get some eyes on the property and nail that number down for you. But, again, we would be able to get this wrapped up and taken care of within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Is this a 3-minute
More
long
than happy to
TikTok? How
take
long
it
is
out
this
in
TikTok?
10
Do you know?
Okay, I have to. This
Yep.
is your number.
Yeah.
What's your name again?
He cut a lot out.
Okay, I'll talk to my.
Now,
fiance
he
and
is-
see what he says.
He is doing more than
Awesome.
most
Let's set a
people.
date this Friday to get back on the phone with each other to reconnect. How does that sound?
I would
Okay,
never
that's
done that.
fine.
Hey Valerie, this is Cameron.
All right, stop it right there. First thing,
Yeah, in that case, I would have probably said, you know what? What do you think your husband would say, your fiance would say? What did he say the last time? Have you ever talked to him about this before? Get through that so you can probably say, okay, let's go ahead and do it anyway. If he
yeah.
says no, let's do it anyway.
Let's do it anyways.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to send you a contract right now. Do you see it in your inbox? No? Okay, hold on, let me check. Go send the- someone's
Yeah,
typing
send
it
us in
up.
the contract.
Let's open this thing up and look through it because if they're on the phone and they're motivated, it's obvious.
What Logan just said, most people never do. One, he made an offer, but he didn't present an offer.
Right. Yeah, he talked about an offer.
talked-
He hadn't made one.
What's your email? Let me put something in front of you. We can go over it together.
Yeah.
Once you're going over the offer with
The
them,
way our offers are set up is they're basically a template with a few exceptions so that we can literally get that thing out while we're on the phone.
every single time we would have a 4-minute or less phone call, and an offer would be in their email if they give us an email.
Another thing sometimes we'll do, he might feel like he's pressured with the time. I just say, hey, hang tight. Let me go talk to my underwriter. Hold on. Let me see if I can get this out for you right now. And if they're not teed up or they're not around, and we'll walk over there and say, hey, Shannon, get this offer together right now. And when they get back, I can tell them, do you have access to your email? Can you look at it? Because it only takes 2 or 3 minutes to fill one out that's almost templated already.
Oh yeah, no, that's it. I mean, we have a DocuSign template, and sometimes we run people that are sold, they just don't have email.
Oh, yeah.
So you know what we do?
What's that?
Snail mail them a contract.
Okay. What we do is we'll call a mobile notary that's in the area and say, can you get over there today?
Really?
Well, I don't have to notarize anything. I'm paying you to get your ass over there to drive, but I'll pay you the same fee. And they'll go over there with the mobile notary will go over there.
We're gonna do that. Braxton, take that down.
There you go, Braxton.
What we've been sending them. I never thought about the mobile notary, but some of them might be hard to find in like Iran, Texas, or wherever that is.
Yeah,
But-
it depends. I mean, the cool part is you can usually mobile notary is used to getting contracts and documents signed. They're used to driving places, and they're pretty dang good at answering their phone. So for $150, pretty much anywhere in the United States, you can deploy a human.
Dude, that's an amazing.
We're used to doing it with deeds. So for a contract, it's just one step earlier.
Well, we've been sending them snail mail, and they've been getting them mailed back to us. That's how we got the one in jail.
Dang.
It's like when they don't have an email, we just, all right, well, we'll put it in the mail. We lick a envelope,
Let it go.
drop it in
Yeah.
there, and let it go, and then it gets mailed back to us. And it's always so funny because they'll mail it back, and they'll take a contract and parts of it that don't apply to it. You know,
Yeah.
like the Tidewaters and stuff. They're just throwing
Yeah.
X's and red and circling and initialing. It's
And the
like,
hard part is like, man, I don't have time. I can't be countering this. I'm just going to sign it and send it.
yeah, we're just gonna sign it and send it. They're like, no, it's gonna be to me, like 65,000. They'll write out next to it, to me.
In my pocket.
Yeah, like it's like, okay, we got this. We can work with this. If we end up in court with this contract, there'll be some issues, but hopefully we don't end up in court. But anyways,
Yeah.
Logan, it's been fun. People, thanks for showing up. I have a good time. You're here tonight. You're going to be on the Jess Marshall podcast after this?
Yeah, that's right. We have that afterwards, and we're gonna do a group here. We'll stick around, chop it up. There's several folks I know that are coming.
Dude, there's a bunch of people coming, a bunch of people that have reached out, so it's going to be a fun time. Need to come out, need to hang out with Logan if you're in the Dallas area.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Come
That'll
out.
be
I think
fun.
it's $25 an open bar, so it's basically
that works.
price of 5 drinks. You can be here drinking. I'm actually getting a bottle of some sort of weird vodka sent to me because I had a TikTok go viral about some weird vodka,
Oh, and they sent you one?
and they're going to send it to me.
Huh.
And I don't
What
drink.
video are you taking shots of it?
I don't drink, but I told
Wait a
them
second. Did I know that? How
What?
long have you not drank?
I've never really drank. I mean,
I didn't know
I drank
that.
when I was in the oil field, but I mean, I'm not like a recovering alcoholic, which is why I'm going to do, because they're going to send me a bottle of vodka.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a hotel room over here,
All right.
and I'm going to sit here with Braxton and whoever else will come in. They're
have
not
some
going to
of
drink. They're going to stay sober. And we're going to make it a drinking game on cold calling.
Oh man.
So we're going to have a cold calling drinking game, and I'm just going to end up hammered,
Yeah.
and they're going to be sober, and we're going to see who does better by the end of the day. You know what I mean?
That's good.
And some of the other games we play when cold calling is we say you got to say a word in the deal and still close the deal. So the day we do that, we'll be live at a table like this, probably this very one.
If
doing
I can
cold
make a
calls.
suggestion, they have to do what we used to do in college in the lecture hall. They have to say penis.
That's it. Just
How
on
many
the
times
phone
can you
to-
slide that in your phone call
What's the most number of times you can say penis on a phone call and still get a
without
contract?
getting caught and get a deal?
So, anyways, it's gonna be a fun time. So, like, subscribe, Logan.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
No doubt.
We'll chop it up later. If you like what you've seen here, find Braxton on Tinder and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just keep swiping; he's on there.